Okay, so we just got done making the longest video we have ever made. So if you are used to watching our short videos, well, buckle up, because this is a special, extended-length edition. In 1607, English settlers founded the first permanent colony in Jamestown, Virginia. And over the next century, 13 colonies formed along the east coast of North America. But by the mid-1700s, tension was rising between the colonies and their parent country, Britain. And why? Well, the colonies were being heavily taxed, but they didn't have any say in British Parliament. So they cried out no taxation without representation. And that led to the American Revolution. In 1775, war broke out between the colonies and Britain. And by 1776, the leaders of the colonies had had enough, so they declared independence. And that document is what we call the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson. By 1783, the United States of America was officially recognized as an independent nation. The U.S. adopted the Constitution in 1787, which created a federal government with checks and balances of power. And in 1789, the first president, George Washington, was inaugurated. But the new nation had problems. There was slavery, conflict with Native Americans over land rights, and growing tensions between the North and the South. In the early 1800s, the country began expanding westward. They purchased the Louisiana Territory from France in 1803 and went to war with Mexico in 1846, gaining land that now makes up states like Texas, California, and Arizona. By the mid-1800s, the issue of slavery had reached a boiling point. In 1860, a new president, Abraham Lincoln, was elected on an anti-slavery platform. And in response, 11 southern states seceded from the Union to form the Confederate States of America. This led to the bloodiest conflict in U.S. history, the Civil War. The North fought to preserve the Union, and the South fought for independence. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which freed slaves in the rebellious states. And by 1865, the Union had won. Slavery was abolished and the United States was reunited. But the country wasn't done growing. In the late 1800s, the U.S. became a global, industrial powerhouse. Cities boomed. But with rapid growth came big problems. There were poor working conditions, child labor, and widespread corruption. And this led to reforms during the Progressive Era. In 1917, the U.S. entered World War I, and then the Great Depression in 1929. But in 1941, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. entered World War II. America's factories became the arsenal of democracy. Producing weapons for the Allies, by 1945, the U.S. had helped defeat Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan and emerged as one of the two global superpowers. But its foreign policy would change after the Cold War began, in the 1940s. The U.S. was locked in an ideological battle with the Soviet Union. This led to the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the space race, which the U.S. won by landing on the moon in 1969. At home, the U.S. faced another challenge. The civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., fought to end racial segregation and inequality. And then in 1991, the Cold War ended. The U.S. stood as the world's sole superpower. But the 9/11 terrorist attacks in 2001, and the subsequent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the latest, the war in Ukraine, ongoing economic crises and deep political polarization, and global climate change are just some of the issues facing the country today. Today, the United States remains a powerful nation, but also a deeply complex one.